Hi, I'm Will Gow. Welcome to my channel. I'm in Choilbalsan, the farthest most eastern province of Mongolia, and I'm at the memorial site just on the outskirts of Choilbalsan. And the memorial site is for a battle that occurred in 1939 called Kurland Gol. Now, of course, most of North America wouldn't have heard about it, but what it was a defining battle that happened 150 kilometers from here. It's the closest city, and it involved 60,000 Soviets and Mongolians against 30,000 Japanese. And of course, the Mongolians, many were on mounted horses, and they're fighting back the Japanese, and this is prior to World War II. And the Japanese had decided to invade Mongolia, and with the Soviets' help, they were going to be pushed back. So I'm taking a few minutes to have you look at the memorial that most people would not see. And the reason this battle is so important to the Mongolians, and also to the Mongolians closest to the Russians, has to do with in this 1939, when they were invaded and they were able to push back the Japanese, that the Japanese, when they lost most of their 30,000 men, it took the Japanese strategy away from Inner Mongolia and also Manchuria and directed their efforts now towards the Pacific, which of course we ended up in World War II. So you never know what ramifications are to certain battles, but now you know that this major battle occurred just prior to World War II. It tells you what happens on the other side of the world that could affect us, and did affect, many generations. But can you imagine mounted cavalry from the Mongolians charging the Japanese? Now in the distance, there's another statue. It has to do with representing the ethnic groups in Mongolia. All the different 5 or 6 ethnic groups there are. And I'm taking a view of, there's a schoolyard out here, and also you can see in the distance is a number of the older buildings that were back when the Soviets occupied in the 90s. The world changed, and of course much of Mongolia was occupied by the Soviets through most of the century, but about 1990, of course, the Mongolians decided on democracy. But it doesn't mean their ties with Russia have changed. They're close economically, and because they're squeezed between China and Russia. But you'd be surprised that even with the goodwill they have towards their neighbors, Russia and China, that Canada is coming up as what they call the good neighbor policy. I'm particularly impressed when I understand how battles on the other side of the world can affect us. And that has not changed. I mean, the world is still immersed in battles. I need you to see this and kind of picture that the Mongolians charging across the plains on their mounted horses in 1939. I'm going to start my walking tour of Choilbalsan, and I'm going to be wearing my mask on because it's not too cold today, but it's pretty mandatory to wear a mask on. So I'm going to do the walking tour and let you know what's going on here occasionally. The city and provincial events are held in the big square, and every provincial capital town I've been in has a large central square. Small black market, but we're in Choilbalsan in one of the busier streets for shopping, so this should be interesting for everybody. I'm going to end the video to put things to help you for context. And I know it's a little shaky, but again, I told you, wearing a mask, wearing my earmuffs and gloves makes it a little difficult to do a really good video. But what I was going to share with you today, Choilbalsan is located close to Inner Mongolia. We're only a few hundred kilometers away from the Russian and Chinese borders, and yet in this city, provincial city, we got 50,000 people. And I changed the camera view. You'll see that they've made a lot of progress in the last few years. The reason particularly I'm taking in the trees is that Mongolia has an ambitious plan by 2030 to plant 1 billion trees in Mongolia. Now the Dornod province has got a really good start. They've got a lot of tree planting started early. And so one of my videos I hope to do is how the province is going to meet that goal of 1 billion trees by 2030. Another unusual aspect of Choilbalsan is look across the street and you'll see very modern apartments and playgrounds, and yet we're 400 or 500 kilometers from any other city, town, and we're a good 6 hours away from Ulaanbaatar. Amazing what they've accomplished here. So I hope you enjoyed your coffee and were able to take the tour with me today. I know for those that can't travel, I hope this is of some interest.